Welcome to the Beyond Bloated Podcast. I'm Carly, a certified health coach helping women ditch their bloat without having to follow super strict and stressful protocols. As someone who's struggled with all sorts of digestive issues for over 5 years, I know exactly how you're feeling. I also know that there's a way to feel better, and it doesn't have to involve tons of expensive supplements and insanely restrictive diets. Join me as I share all of my bloat-busting wisdom to help you say goodbye to that bloated belly and regain your confidence. It's time for you to move beyond bloated. Hello, everyone. Today, we are talking about poop. I used to be so embarrassed to talk about poop. If you told me like 7 years ago, Carly, you're going to be talking about poop on a podcast that's going on the internet in front of who knows how many people, I would have died. But instead, I decided I want to talk about constipation for 30-ish minutes. So here I am. Joining me to talk about this important topic is my friend Mandy. She is a health coach whose goal is to rid the world of laxatives one person at a time. She has helped hundreds of clients improve digestion, regulate bowel movements, and improve their relationship with food so that they can enjoy life more. She will be sharing her personal gut health journey with us today, and then we're diving right into the glamorous topic of constipation. We'll discuss what actually classifies as being constipated, because there is a lot of misinformation out there, some actionable steps that you can start taking today to relieve your constipation, and some details on a super informative resource that will provide you with everything you need to get back to pooping regularly and comfortably. So without further ado, let's please welcome Mandy to the Beyond Bloated Podcast. I can't wait for our conversation today.
Hi, Carly. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So could you start us off by sharing a little about your own gut health journey and how that led you to becoming a health coach?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually started, my health history started with issues that weren't really what you'd think of when you think of like digestion or gut related issues. A lot of my health issues were unrelated things that improved once I started working on my gut health. So things like from my late teens to my mid 20s, I on and off dealt with migraines, insomnia, really bad anxiety. I had lost my period for a period of time, and I ended up in the emergency room with a cyst on one ovary that ruptured. I had some weird skin things where I would get styes near my eyes, like on my eyelids, and also these bumps under my armpits that I couldn't really, it was like big, painful, almost like cysts under my armpits. And I was young and, seemingly healthy, like from the outside, everyone thought that I was healthy, but I dealt with these things really consistently and I was pretty lost. And so I tried all sorts of things. I'm one of those people where like I've tried it all. So before I became a nutritionist, I actually just one of my experiments happened to be that I experimented with the paleo diet. And that was the first thing where I really saw improvement. After 60 days, I was sleeping better. I never had a migraine again. And it's been maybe 15 years. It's been a while. I'm no longer strictly paleo, but that was kind of the foundation that led me to healing. And it also inspired me to go back to school, which I did in my late 20s. I went back to school. I became a nutritionist. And in my experience working with clients from all over, all different ages, all different concerns, it became really clear to me that so many people are dealing with digestive issues, whether they know it or not. Some clients come to me for other reasons. And then once we start talking, I realize that they are dealing with heartburn or gas or bloating or constipation, and they didn't even realize it was a problem. They just thought that that was how their body was working, and that was okay. So once I started seeing that trend, it really became my focus and my passion to help people figure out that piece of their health.
That's incredible. And it's so true that people don't notice how bad that they feel until they start to feel better a lot of the time. So as you mentioned, like people don't even realize they're bloated or they have excessive gas because they're like, isn't everybody bloated and gassy all the time? Because a lot of people are. And so they're surrounded by people who feel the same garbagey symptoms as they do day in, day out. So they're like, yeah, my buddy feels like that every day. So it's normal. And we have to remember that common is not the same as normal or even optimal, right? Like a lot of people could feel better even if they kind of get by day to day. And the other thing you said was how your symptoms didn't start as digestive issues, which I had the same issue actually. Like I didn't notice it for a very long time, where my symptoms started off as like UTIs. I had throat infections. I was tired all the time, but I just brushed those things off. And then eventually my gut malfunctioned. And then I started getting bloated and being intolerant to all these foods, and the bowel issues started. But mine started as not gut issues either. And then when my gut issues started, I then started working on my gut health because it was apparent that that was the problem. And then all my other symptoms went away, like the UTIs, the throat infections, the fatigue, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
So you're so right that gut health encompasses everything. Like all symptoms that I have seen, honestly, can be traced back to the gut to some degree anyway. So that's a very good point to bring up. And I'm glad that you shared that story. Thank you. How did you get into constipation? Because that is your focus, correct?
That would be my main focus, yes, is constipation relief. So that came over time. That wasn't my original goal to talk to people about bowel movements all day, every day, but it just became more and more important the more people I worked with, was to ask the uncomfortable questions. And once I started giving suggestions to my one-on-one clients for ways to regulate their bowel movements and relieve bloating and constipation, it kind of dawned on me like this isn't as hard as people might think it is. It does take effort, it does take thought, but it's not like you have to change your whole life. And the way that I've seen people feel so much better once they're having regular bowel movements just made me realize if I can teach one person this, I can teach hundreds or thousands of people this, and they can feel better too. And so that's really why it's important to me, is because it is an achievable thing to change.
Yeah, you're so right. A lot of times we overcomplicate things and we don't have to. And constipation is definitely common. I struggled with it. I still occasionally struggle with it. Like it's just one of those things that you're like, ugh, constipated again. What happens?
It comes and
But
goes, that's for sure.
yeah, so that's awesome that you're helping people with that because it's an issue for a lot of people and it causes bloating in a lot of people. I know that was an issue that I had. So how do you define constipation?
Yeah, so that is a good question. If you look up the technical definition, most places you're going to see fewer than 3 bowel movements per week. But in my book, honestly, if you're having less than 1 per day, I would put you in that category. But there are people who may still have a bowel movement every day or most days, but there are other things that could indicate you're constipated other than just the number of bowel movements. But that's where I always start, because more often than not, that's the one that's going to pull people in, is if you tell them you got to be going at least once a day, but twice a day would be better. They're like, what? I thought that I was doing okay with twice a week. But some of the other indicators that you could look for would be hard stools, firm, difficult to pass, or you have to strain to eliminate. What I call either rabbit or pellet poop. If you've ever seen the Bristol stool chart, which is the chart to show you where your bowel movements line up, it's going to be those ones that are just like the little pellets. For some people, bloating can be an indicator, but I'm sure you talk about this all the time, that bloating isn't only from constipation, but that can be a sign of it. Not having that feeling of full evacuation on a regular basis, that would be one thing to consider. If you feel like you didn't get everything out, I would call that constipation. And then also, if you if you swing from loose stools to constipated, I would still put that in the constipated category.
Yeah, that's a great definition. I mean, it's a long definition, but it's so true because there's so many different ways you can be constipated. I would say pooping less than twice a week. Most people would think there's something wrong. But like you said, every day is the norm or should be the norm. And I didn't know that. And I didn't realize I was constipated for so long. And now that I've gotten my gut health, a lot better, I am going every day. And I'm like, what? This is what was supposed to be happening this whole time. So again, it was a situation where I didn't know until it happened. And now I feel better. My bloating is so much better because of it. So that is a big indicator you're not going every day. And then the other things that you said too, like the consistency, how long are you sitting there? Lots of different things that we need to think about. And it's awesome that you are working with these people to help them through this because it can be a lot to take on your own. And unfortunately, if you go to the doctor, they will put you on laxatives a lot of the time. So can you tell us a little bit about the problem with laxatives?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really important topic to discuss, um, because laxatives don't fix the problem of what's causing your constipation, period. I know that seems very logical and seems like it makes sense, but these band-aid solutions are never addressing the cause. And I think it's really important to think about what that means, that it's never going to re-regulate unless we do something to regulate it. So either we need to peel back those layers and help your body rebalance, or you're going to be on laxatives forever. So that's the first problem. I don't think most people want to spend the money on laxatives forever, have to remember to take laxatives forever, deal with the inconsistency of when some people take laxatives, they don't know if they're going to go in 30 minutes or if they're going to go in 5 hours. It's not a great life to live relying on those. But other than that, I think the larger problem is that laxatives can be harmful. So if you think about the fact that you would need to take them every day for the rest of your life, but they're harmful to your body, that is not a good road to go down. First, your body can build up a tolerance to laxatives. So the longer you take them, the more you would need to take to get the same effect as what you were previously taking. And then also, it can lead to this condition called lazy bowel syndrome, which is essentially your intestines are slowing down even further and motility gets even slower than it already is, which of course our motility is already slow if we're constipated, but it essentially like tells your muscles in your digestive system, you don't have to work anymore because the laxatives are doing the work for you. So it's kind of like a use it or lose it scenario with the muscles in your GI tract. And then if you get into that lazy bowel syndrome place, it's going to take even more time to come back into balance. So getting started sooner than later is always the best answer, because if we're on laxatives for longer and longer periods of time, it's more damage that we have to come back from.
That makes sense. I actually didn't know, though, that you build up a tolerance to laxatives. That's actually pretty scary because some people have been on laxatives for years. That's how they make themselves go. So if you're on that for years and your body's building up a tolerance, that could be a scary thought to think how much laxative you need to take to get yourself to go. And then, I mean, you're spending more money on laxatives at that point, right? Because you're buying more. And as you said, do you really want to rely on medication to do something that should be a natural process? That immediately is a red flag. It's like something is wrong with my body. And I know that your poop is a very good indicator of your overall health. So if you aren't pooping consistently, the poop is a good consistency. I know we're talking about poop here and it's kind of gross, but it's important. Like looking at your poop can tell you a lot about your health. And if you're not able to go every day, that consistency, as I just said, that's an indicator that something else is wrong. And if you don't address that, more things can start to go wrong. I am a great example of that. I ignored my symptoms for years, and they just progressively got worse. I got more symptoms until I got to the point where I could no longer ignore them because they were ruining my life. So do not band-aid things ever if you don't have to. And you have a course that allows people to not band-aid that. So can you tell us a little bit about your Regularity Roadmap course?
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for asking. So I created this self-paced online course for the people who know what their main problems are, and their problems are bloating and or constipation, and they don't necessarily maybe want one-on-one coaching. Maybe they don't need as much time. Maybe they're really good at being on top of what they're going to do, the changes they're going to make, and they can implement them without needing to invest in the money and time it would take to work with me one-on-one. And so this course allows them to do basically the things I talk with every single one of my one-on-one clients, regardless of if they come to me for bloating or constipation. Almost everything in that course is something that I will address with my one-on-one clients because the gut is so foundational to our overall health. But then it also takes you through modules very specific to bloating and constipation. And so it will guide you through, of course, dietary changes, probably the most obvious one, but also lifestyle changes. It will talk about how to optimally hydrate to have regular bowel movements. There is a discussion on supplements for those who want supplements, and I have suggestions. That's not required, but that can be a nice boost for the people who want them. And it allows you to go through at your own pace. It allows you to go back through again if you feel like you want to rewatch a video, reread a handout. And it really helps with achievable, realistic changes that you can start implementing right away. So it's not anything that is going to take over your life. It's not going to be like having a second job. It's going to be, okay, this week, let's focus on this topic. Next week, we'll add in something else. And it's really helping that body come back into balance.
I love that. I love that it's self-paced. So everybody obviously is different. Their bodies are going to be different. So someone might be able to work through those modules quicker because they're seeing results quicker, whereas someone else might need more time. So that's a very cool feature. And it's also a great option, as you said, for people who maybe can't financially afford one-on-one coaching at the moment, but they really want to get started, or they're just very independent people. And I mean, coaching is for accountability. And, if you need that one-on-one support as you're going through the journey, we're here for you. But if you really don't, if you are like a go-getter and you're like, I got this, I don't need your help, then you're providing all of the information that they need just without the hand-holding, if we want to call it that, right? So that's great that you're giving like multiple options for people to choose what's best for you. But ultimately, they get the same result either way, as long as they follow the steps and are capable of doing it on their own. So I love that. Now, can you give us a little insight into the course? So maybe give like a few starter tips on what someone could do if they're experiencing constipation and they want to get going right now.
Hey everyone, Carly here. If you are tired of feeling bloated and uncomfortable, which I know you are, I have something that can really help. My free ultimate guide to bloat busting. I've been there myself, and I know how frustrating it is to try super restrictive diets and expensive supplements without getting results. If those methods were going to work, they would have worked by now. That's why I created this guide to offer you a different approach. In the ultimate guide to bloat busting, you'll learn techniques to listen to your body and eat with intention, avoiding overeating and choosing foods that truly benefit you, tips for proper hydration to support digestion and reduce bloating, a guide to delicious foods that promote a healthy gut and how to easily incorporate them into your meals, and effective methods to manage stress, which plays a huge role in gut health. These simple, practical strategies can make a big difference in your daily life, helping you feel lighter, more energized, and comfortable in your own skin. Ready to ditch the bloat without strict diets or costly supplements? Download your free copy today at beyondbloated.com/ultimate bloat-guide and start your journey to a bloat-free life. Now, let's get back to it.
Right now. Okay. Yes. So I'm going to say a few things right now. I'm going to try not to be too long-winded because I tend to be. But before I start listing things, I want to start by saying start small and don't try to do it all at once. So if I list 7 things right now, you don't have to start all 7 things tomorrow. That's the way that these things lead to overwhelm and burnout, and then you just don't do it. I'd rather you step by step get closer to your goal than try to achieve your goal overnight and then you give up and you never keep working towards it. And that is something that I do in the course as well, is I pace out the modules so that when you're done with the module, you stop and you think, and I give an action step at the end of every single module so that you're not just flying into the next module. You have a little bit of homework, you have a little bit of accountability as far as being uncoached through the program. Essentially, there is still little bits of coaching that I weave in there to slow you down a little bit and make you think about, have I really implemented this to the best of my ability? Am I ready to keep moving forward? Look at me, I was long-winded. Okay, first thing I always look at is hydration. So figure out how many ounces of water you're drinking today and determine if that's a good number of ounces for your body. And this will vary from person to person based on height, weight, how active they are, how hot it is. But not just water, but also electrolytes. We don't sweat out only water. We also sweat out electrolytes. So replacing those, I think, is one of the best steps to helping with constipation relief, because electrolytes are what help us actually absorb and use the water we're drinking. It helps us hydrate us at the cellular level and not have that water just run through us. We get more out of the water we're drinking if we add electrolytes. So that would be number 1. I would say work on it for a week. And then my next step, which I'm guessing, actually I've listened to a few episodes of your podcast, so I know that this one comes up, is chewing your food really, really well. It sounds little, but I promise it can make a big difference. So I know some people will chew 20 times, 30 times, 40 times. I know that most people aren't going to count. So what I say is chew your food to the consistency of applesauce. This is going to make sure that we are starting off our digestion on the right foot from the top of the chain. We don't want to send these large undigested food particles down to our stomach. It makes our stomach work harder and it starts to slow down our digestion. And we need to keep the speed of our digestion at a good pace to make sure that we're not getting constipated. Okay, so chewing, work on it again for a few days or a week until you feel like it's becoming more second nature. Next thing I would say is incorporate some sort of movement every day into your schedule. And this doesn't necessarily need to be what you may consider exercise. It doesn't need to be going to the gym necessarily every day, or running, or lifting heavy weights, or doing a boot camp class. And if you like those things, great. I would still do some more vigorous exercise a couple times a week if you can. But things like walking, things like stretching, yoga, Pilates, if you're on a rest day from your workout regimen, I would still encourage you to walk. A sedentary lifestyle affects our digestive system as well. And movement increases our blood flow, which includes blood flow to the muscles of our intestines. And so we need those muscles to be contracting to move our stool and help with elimination. So that's where I would start. And, those aren't even getting into food. And I think it's important that food isn't always like the first thing we need to talk about.
Yes, I 100% agree. And it took me years to come to that realization. I was obsessed with the food aspect. What am I eating? What is causing me to bloat today? I'm eating like so healthy, like crazy healthy, and I'm still bloated. And I'm like, what else can I eliminate? Girl, stop. It's not the food. It's everything else that you're doing. And those tips that you just gave are fantastic. And I think they're overlooked because they seem too simple. In our minds, we've worked it up to be this big, complicated thing. And it's like, if you actually just think about your day-to-day life, you do those things? Because you're like, no, that's not it. But think about it. Like, are you getting daily movement? Do you chew your food? And I don't mean chew, swallow. My boyfriend and I argue about this because he eats so fast. And I'm like, you're not chewing your food. And he's like, I just chew it really fast. I'm like, no, you don't chew it. I've started to tell people to not even make changes at first, to just notice. Like, live a week of your life and just note down what you're doing. Don't change anything. How much water did you drink? I mean, it's like a random scale, I guess, that you make up, but how well did you chew your food, sorry? How much movement did you get in the day? You know, if you have like a step tracker, you could use that and just notice. And you might be alarmed and be like, oh my God, I got 500 steps today. I've done that, and it's bad.
Same. And I would imagine that when you tell your clients to just live for a week and observe, that they already have answers. You don't even need to tell them what to do next. They're like, yep, I see it now. And of course your guidance is going to help them, but it's sometimes more, it's stronger when they're realizing it themselves.
Light bulb goes off. It's like, oh my God, I don't move at all. And it's easy to think that we're doing something if we don't note it down. I'm not like a huge promoter of track everything you eat and track all of your daily movements and everything, but I think it can be very powerful at the beginning just to figure out where you're at, because we don't notice, we don't pay attention to these things. Life is busy and we're just speeding by. So sometimes we need to take a second and be like, what am I doing? What am I doing that I can improve that will help my constipation or any other symptom that I may be having? So those are great starting points. I think if people can nail the basics like that, that's going to help significantly. I know for myself, one of the things that really helped me was just having a routine. Like, I go to bed at the same time, roughly, every night. I wake up same time, roughly, and I eat my meals roughly at the same time every day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And that has regulated my body to know what's going on. It's like, oh, we're waking up, we're having breakfast, we're going to the bathroom, we're having lunch. Like, my body has clued in and is anticipating what's happening, and we're ready for it. And I have found that helps a lot, because if I stray from that routine because, I go on vacation and I'm up late or whatever, I notice I'm not as regular because my body's confused and it's like, whoa, this isn't what we're doing anymore. So for me, that has been a big help. And I'm just throwing that in as an add-on to your points there. But this has been fantastic. I wish we had more time, but it flies by. So can you please tell everybody where they can find you if they would like to work with you one-on-one or get more information, and if they're interested in your course, where they can purchase that?
Yeah, well, thank you again for having me. This was awesome. And I also wish we could talk longer. I feel like we could go on and on forever. But the best place to find me is either on my website or on Instagram. So my Instagram is Nourish and Flourish Wellness Co. So CO at the end. And my website is nourishandflourishwellnessco.com. And you can DM me on Instagram. There is an option to submit a message on my website. And my self-paced course, Regularity Roadmap, is linked in both places. It's in my bio on Instagram and it's on my website.
Fantastic. I highly recommend everybody go check out Mandy. She posts a lot of information on her Instagram as well. So today was just a little sneak peek into what she has to offer and a little something to get you motivated and get started. But if you'd like more information, Mandy's got it on her Instagram and her website, and you can reach out to her and check out her course if you're feeling bloated and constipated, because I know it's a nasty feeling to have. And if you need help, she's your girl. So thank you so much for being here and for all this information you've given us today.
Yeah, thank you, Carly. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Beyond Bloated podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe and leave a review. And don't forget to share this podcast with your fellow gut goddesses. If you'd like to chat about today's episode, send me a DM on Instagram at beyond.bloated. Until next time, bye!